as absolutely non-material. Thus, the existence of non-matter is a mere belief, perhaps a matter of faith alone. This philosophy actually explains why people have to see something visible before they can begin to believe in anything invisible, if they can at all. According to Augustine, for some people to try to conceive of anything non-sensory would be like asking them to conceive of non-existence. For the Stoics, the soul in man was the logos' individual manifestation. The body's physical oneness with the logoi lent an appreciation of the body not shared by any other philosophy. In like manner, St. John's prologue used the logos to designate it as the divine that became visibly manifested in a material body. St. Irenaeus, perhaps the most enlightened of the fathers, Marginalia, she said once that she wished that all of Christianity was based on the writings of Irenaeus. Commented that man was a microcosm of the universe, and that in the process of taking on human nature, the incarnation, the Logos united itself to the whole cosmos. Thus, along with Paul, Irenaeus referred to Christ as the sum of creation, footnote 1. Maximus the Confessor noted that, quote, the divine Logos in whom all things were created contains in himself the diversity of creation. He says, quote, by contemplating that diversity, who will not perceive that the single Logos is the multitude of logoi, that, conversely, the multitude is one in the universal, return toward him. This same Logos is manifested and multiplied in a way suitable to the good in all the beings who come from him according to the nature of each. And he recapitulates all things in himself, for all things participate in God by analogy insofar as they come from God. So, if the Logos was the source of and soul of existence, the cosmos was its body, its manifestation. Thus, the Logos was the soul of the universe, just as man's body is the visible form of his soul. This, it seems, was also St. Athanasius's 296 to 373 AD view. Quote, just as the Logos is the animating principle of the cosmos, it is of the rational soul of man. Christ's human nature was a part of the vast body of the cosmos. Logos, while present in the man Jesus, was simultaneously present everywhere else in the universe, vivifying and directing it with its life-giving power. End quote. For Athanasius, the Logos did not enter into a man, but became a man, took on flesh. It was his instrument. The Stoics' view was that while the Logos was immutable and not subject to change, yet its manifestations were always changing, in flux. Solely in itself, the Logos was dynamic. Indeed, it was said to be fire. The Stoics' goal was to find and attune their whole being to the unchanging logoi present in themselves. This goal of becoming one with the immutable and impassible Logos was called apatheia, a goal attained by overcoming one's continually changing mental and emotional states. There was no egoic individualism, or I am, in their practice. Christianity would inherit this discipline as well. This was the goal of reaching the state of impassiveness, or apatheia, in order to become one with the impassible Logos. The Fathers gave this state of oneness the name theosis and regarded it as man's deification. Needless to say, today's use of the demeaning terms Stoic and apathy is a far cry from the Stoics' goal of apatheia. To be one with the Logos meant becoming as impassible or dispassioned as the impassible Logos. To this we might add that the Stoic notion of charity and selflessness exceeded anything found in the Judaic or Christian Bible, but we needn't go over that here. It seems the ancients regarded prime matter as eternal, yet none regarded anything changeable or mutable as divine. On the contrary, the One, or Logos, was immutable and impassible. So to say the Stoics took the ever-changing forms of matter to be the divine Logos is not true. What they held was that the Logos was the unchanging engineer underlying all change and flux. The Logos was the intelligent cause of all impermanence, the eternal form underlying the multiple forms, logoi, created in the Logos, and the return was to the one Logos. The Stoics were the first to use hypostasis for the Logos, meaning the real that underlies the apparent or manifest cosmos as its cause, the cause of its eternal movement, change, or flux. Under hypostasis literally means underlies or stands under. Since they believed the invisible Logos was one with matter, the incarnation would not have been such a mystery to them, nor would the resurrection. While matter, or everything man knows of it, is not the Logos, yet the Logos is its underlying invisible mystery, which mystery constitutes the true oneness of all that exists. One important feature of the Logos inherited by the fathers was the understanding of God as impassible, meaning God was not subject to passions, emotions, feelings, or human experiences of any kind. All the fathers took this as axiomatic, saying that the idea of God as passible was madness, Cyril, an absurdity, Nyssa, atheistic, Apollinarius, etc. Nyssa, you probably know, is not the man's name, it was Gregory. Back to the text. So while, like every human being, the man Jesus was passible, subject to human feelings and emotions, the divine Logos, however, experienced none of it. All held that the human experience, whatever it may be, was not God's experience. This was the understanding of all the fathers, and well worth keeping in mind. God's impassibility, however, was not easy for the fathers to reconcile with the Old Testament view of an impassive God, angry, demanding, punishing, even vengeful, subject to every kind of human emotion. Yet, all agreed God was absolutely impassible, and that the biblical sayings were purely personified metaphors. Despite this fact, the Alexandrians, at least, hedged around this contradiction by inventing what came to be called the communication of properties, or attributes. By the way, there's an entire chapter on the communication of properties in this book. Back to the text. Whereby Jesus' human passibility was attributed to the impassible divine person of the Logos. This way, they could say the Logos was born, suffered, and died, while in truth, this could only be said of its human nature, and never of the divine Logos itself. So despite all the protestation against the passibility of God, the communication of properties perpetuated the Old Testament's personified images of a passible, feeling God. No question, God's impassivity had great implications for the fathers' various Christologies and understandings of Christ. Like people of any religion, however, where some find its value morally, socially, and psychologically beneficial, there are others for whom only its deeper mystical implications of truth are its real value. This was the case with the Jewish mystic philosopher Philo of Alexandria, 25 BC to 50 AD. Convinced that Greek philosophy was grounded in God's singular revelation to Moses, Philo wrote a book correlating his Jewish monotheism with Greek philosophy. It is his comparison of Proverbs' personified wisdom with the Gentiles' non-personified logos that is his most outstanding contribution to Christianity, at least. She says elsewhere that he basically got Christianity off the ground. Right here we can put our finger on a strategic crossover of two different mindsets: Judaism's monotheistic heritage and the Gentiles' religious philosophical heritage. For Philo, the philosophical and biblical notions were not at odds, but complementary. Philo was convinced